Okay. Yeah. Good morning, Amber. Good morning, Kristen. Thank you. Serena, Anna from Halton. Good morning. So, yeah, for those of us just joining, just if you can introduce yourself and where you're from. So, Carol from Thunder Bay. Great.
Haldeman County.
And so, Amber in Brantford. And
Orlando.
I think I just heard Jamie. Welcome, Jamie. And Jessica from Haldeman, or maybe that was Jessica. Awesome. Yeah, from Brampton, Norfolk County. Hi, Lindsay. Katrina in Midland and Sudbury. Awesome. So we have good representation from around the province, which is awesome to see. Okay, let me just move my boxes here a little bit. So we will be using Slido and Zoom polls throughout this webinar. If you would like to use your mobile device, you can connect using this QR code shown here, or you can connect using a link, which if Serena could put that into the chat right now, and then you can connect into Slido on your laptop. So again, we're doing Slido polls and then also Zoom polls. So we'll just start off with our agenda. So we'll go through introductions. We'll be talking about regional data and reports, regional economy overviews. We'll look at top 10 industries and occupations, and regional business counts, jobs, wages, and sales. And all of those things, we're going to find them in our software, which is called Analyst. And then we'll do a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So just to start things off and get you familiar with and connected into our Slido poll, if you could, thank you, someone's already there. How familiar are you with Lightcast Analyst Economic Analysis software? You're knowledgeable and have used it. Analyst is new to you. You're aware of it, or you're an expert. Okay. So Analyst is new to a number of people, and so that's great. That's what we're here for, to introduce you to Analyst. Some people are knowledgeable and have used it, and so that's awesome. It can be a refresher as well. Also, it can introduce you to some of the reports that you may not have used in the past. And some people are just aware of it, which is, again, great. We're happy to have you all here. All right, I'm just going to introduce our panel here. And joining us today is Basil Fowler from Lightcast Analyst Account Manager. He'll be introducing you all to Analyst and the community economic data that is available. Also joining us is my colleague Serena Viola, an economic and business advisor with the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. She supports clients with her expertise in Analyst and in administering client use. My name is Nick Kinkle. I'm leading the Analyst Economic Analysis program, developing user support and providing user technical expertise. Serena and I work in the Community Economic Development Unit with OMAFRA, and we provide responsive leadership in community economic development to rural Ontario and agricultural development in Northern Ontario. We deliver and support adoption of OMAFRA's economic development and agri-food programs, tools, and resources. We lead OMAFRA's collaborative approach to support self-determined Indigenous agri-food and community economic development outcomes. We maintain responsive and effective relationships with community economic development, Indigenous and agri-food clients and partners, and we build and support a culture of inclusivity and reconciliation. So with that, I'd like to start us off with a territorial acknowledgement. I live and work in Norfolk County on the shores of Lake Erie. My workstation is located on Between the Lakes Treaty Number 3 lands. My grandparents and parents immigrated to this area post-World War II from the Netherlands to work in the primary agricultural sector, start their own farms, and support the growth of the Christian faith community. I'm thankful to the many generations of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who have cared for these lands since time immemorial. I also live near the Haldeman Tract, which is now occupied principally by 6 nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, with added members of the Mississaugas of the Credit. This land was traditionally occupied by the Haudenosaunee and Arawandran peoples. Haudenosaunee means people of the long house, which not only describes their long bark houses, but is allegorical for the makeup of their extended families. Plus, it encompasses the collective community. The individual nations comprising the Longhouse culture include Mohawk, Seneca, Oneida, Cayuga, and Onondaga. Each an individual nation, were united into a confederacy of nations in 1152. This made it a really long house. This confederacy is the second oldest League of Nations still surviving in the world today. The official stamp of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy Chiefs Council, shown here, has been used for decades by the Chiefs Council. It includes the symbol of a bear, one of the Haudenosaunee clans, and arrows depicting the original 5 nations that made up the Confederacy. I'm committed to learning more about Canada's Indigenous peoples and the negative impact colonization has had and still has, and encourage you to take time to do the same. Okay. Oops, sorry, one too many. Oops, sorry about that. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, so let's get started. I'm honored to introduce Basil Fowler, who is a dedicated customer success manager with Lightcast, with a focus on economic development and workforce development clients in Canada. Basil brings over a decade of honorable service in the US Army, coupled with a master's degree in leadership from Grand Canyon University. He prioritizes warm, proactive partnerships, ensuring the success and satisfaction of Lightcast's Canadian partners. As I turn it over to Basil, I encourage you to share any and all questions in the chat. We'll be taking up the questions at the end of Basil's presentation. And so with that, I'll turn it over to you, Basil.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate the introduction and the setup here. And I'm honored to be in the room, and thank everybody for showing up to kind of hear me talk and go through some of these reports this morning. Who this is going to be for are those that are new to the economic development, who are researching for a project maybe in your region there, or are just in need of a refresher of what the platform may provide there. As I was preparing for this, there was quite a few reports that I came across that I actually didn't use quite often. So I'm going to showcase some of those here during this particular presentation, because they provide a lot of good visuals and a lot of good information that you otherwise I don't think would be able to uncover here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and share my screen. I hope everybody's going to be able to see that. That looks good there, Nick. You can see the screen. Okay, awesome. So when you first log into Analyst and you get your license from OMAFRA, we'll get you all set up. And when you log in, this is the landing page that you're going to see. I am currently logged in as Serena right now, so this should be exactly what you're able to view once you log in as well. And based on the poll that we took at the beginning of this, I noticed that about half of you are totally new. There are no experts in the room, obviously, based on that poll there. A few of you know about it and some are familiar. So I am going to take just a couple minutes to go over a few places on the homepage that you can find help and resources as you get into the tool and start to learn it. First place that I'm going to point out, it's the most conspicuous in the whole tool. It's the big blue button on the top right-hand corner. That's for our knowledge base. This is houses all of the documents that we have related to our methodology, any terms that you may be unfamiliar with, and some how-tos and frequently asked questions as well. Just to demonstrate what that looks like when you click on it, you can save this as a favorite as well, or you can click on the tiles to find what you're looking for. It is intuitive, kind of like a Google search. So you could go ahead and just type in Canada and it would pull up all the information that we have related to it. The three places that I'm going to point you to just initially, and I'm not going to go into huge detail just for the sake of time, but our methodology section, if you click on that, it's going to show you which sources we're currently using and which geography they actually go down to. And then if you scroll down further, it gives you a brief synopsis of how we calculate our industry counts, the occupation counts, what the staffing patterns looks like, and so forth. Another set that I'm going to show you is the taxonomy and data set chart. I get a lot of questions about which source are you using and how is this calculated and so on. When you come into this, it's actually going to show you which versions of the taxonomy that we're using in the tool. And then if you scroll down further here, you're going to be able to see which of those subsets that we're using to further get the information. It does correspond to the current data run that we are on in the platform. And in Canada, we do 2 updates per year. That's generally going to be in the spring and in the fall. And you can find that in the release notes. It details what's coming. It details what we have changed going all the way back to 2018. And we do have the expected dates of those updates. Okay, so for the knowledge base there, that's really what I wanted to point out. You can search for anything else you want. If you just have a question about what something means, you can type that in there as well. The next place I'm going to show for resources or help is going to be this blue button down here on the bottom. I know Nick and Serena, they're wonderful resources, but sometimes we get busy. If you want to reach us directly here at Lightcast, you can do it this way. It's manned from 6 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. Pacific time. It's manned by myself and members of my team here, so it's all the account managers at Lightcast. Very, very easy. You just click send us a message, type it in, and hit enter. We do have about 5 minutes to respond. Typically, our team's super competitive. So within our team, we have a 2-minute time, but the report got pulled just, I don't know, about a week ago, and it was a 36-second response time. So we're generally responsive as long as you're reaching out during business hours. If it's on the weekend or after the chat is closed for the day, we will get to it as soon as the next person comes in that following morning. And that's Jason. He's I've been working with him for almost 2 years now. To go ahead and close it, it's really easy. You can just back out and then continue kind of searching through the knowledge base. You can actually do that here as well. But closing, it's easy. Just click the caret. 2 other places that I'm going to point out are under the support tab. The knowledge base you can get to again here, but the blue button obviously is the easiest place. The feedback is what I wanted to point out. So say, for example, you're in a job postings report and you're looking at a particular region and it just shows up, and this is a really weird example, but 0 postings. And you're like, that can't be right. I know somebody's posted something in the last month in that geography. You can simply go up to support, feedback, and it's a free text box. So what I would ask is you put who you are, what it is that you are doing, what you expected to see, and then what actually happened. Those are going to be the 4 things that you would want to include in this, just to make sure that our data team has all the proper information. The cool part about this, instead of sending, an email thread or something like that, is it'll take a link to the report and attach it to this feedback request. That way we can recreate the issue right away. We're not having to go back and forth 5 or 6 times to get screenshots and so forth. Another cool part of this is it goes directly to the data team and they'll tag me in it. So it sort of skips me as the middleman, and the potential there for it to take longer to get a resolution. Outside of bugs, you can also put feature requests in here or enhancement requests. So if there's something that you don't see that you would like to see, you can put that in there as well. And then finally, the change log. If you don't have a license for say 2 or 3 months, and then you come back to the tool and it looks a little different, you've noticed some things have changed, it's really easy just to come into the change log. And again, I always recommend doing the Control F and finding Canada specifically. This particular page does have data from the US tool and also the UK version of this. So searching for CA or Canada is going to be the best bet to filter that out quickly. All righty. And I lied to you. There is one more thing I wanted to point out, the status page. Say you're getting an error, you're having trouble, the system looks degraded, and before you put in that bug request, you can go ahead and click the status page. And what it'll do is actually let us know if anything's degraded up front. Anything that's currently recovering will be on the top. Analyst would be the tab that you're worried about or concerned with. If there's anything other than this green check, there's something going on. You can also subscribe to alerts if you'd want just an email when something's down. Any planned maintenance will be below, and everything else that's been resolved is further down the page there. Okay, so that's kind of the 4 or 5 places where you can get help and resources on the homepage for those of you that are absolutely new to the tool. The next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and jump over to those reports that are more visual for those that want maybe some print-ready reports that they can just, extract the data from quickly and give to their executive director or one of the stakeholders in the region. To illustrate that, the first place I'm going to go, and this is not the only way to do it. There's a million reports in here that you can find similar data, but the industries tab and then coming down to the economy overview. The reason I'm going to start here is this is our highest level report. I call it the jetliner view, that 30,000 foot view. The overview reports, and this is a key distinction between the tables and the by location, do not allow you to select the parameters that you're looking at. The packets are predefined. So again, it's going to be that print ready. Here's the data. Go ahead and show it to who you need to. The economy overview is also going to aggregate all of the information that you put into it. So if we're selecting multiple regions, and in this case, I'm going to look at the Wellington Census Division. If we were to put, say, I don't know, Toronto, for example, it would aggregate those 2 regions together. So generally speaking, unless you're trying to do a comparison, which another report can handle quite well, you would just want to do the one geography, unless you have a larger region that's made up of those smallers. We do have the ability to go out on these just to the current year. The reason it says 2022, and I'll just make that distinction up front, we have to have 6 months of data from the Survey of Employment, Payroll, and Hours in order to update that year to the current year. So with that being said, right now we have data from CEF through May of 2023. So I suspect in this first data run this year, we'll have that updated CEF data, and then this would roll to 2023. So for the sake of just giving some data, I'm going to do pre-pandemic out until the most current year we have available. And here's what it's going to look like up front. Some of our overview reports are a little prettier. The occupation overview has some cool graphics on it and a couple little things that the economy overview doesn't. But this does give excellent information about your region at a very high level. You can select class of workers over here on this side. One distinction I'll make, if you're not seeing wages anywhere in the tool, make sure this self-employed box is not selected. You'll notice when it is, the wage box goes away. Reason for that is the self-employed data set uses about half of the sources, and they're all self-reported. So with that, the confidence level and what the wages actually are is a little shaky. So the employees data set is the information we have from the government. It covers about 96% of those waged and salaried jobs. So still a very good proxy to get those wages. Self-employed is good for the entrepreneurial activity. You do have the ability to save our reports. You can share it with your team. You can add it to a folder. You can set up an email alert on any sort of time basis. You can add other recipients too if you'd like. You can also export our reports, which makes this a really cool feature. With the overviews, you can typically get Word, PDF, and some of them will allow Excel. Once you get into the tables, you can actually export those in Excel and CSV so you can get the raw data out and do your own analysis. Okay, that's enough of the admin and buttons and levers that you have to pull and push. Now we're actually going to get into the data and what it shows. Now, the economy overview, again, it's going to give you those high-level bullet points, talking about population, jobs, wages, completions, exports, and imports. The exports and imports data is going to be from our input-output model. Completions data is going to come from PCIS, or from the government. Wages, jobs, and population, again, all comes from the government data. If you click on the plus signs, it breaks it out, percentage, volume, and the cool little histogram. It tells you in the Wellington Census Division, it's 1.7% of the provincial population. It's grown 7.7% over the last 5 years, outpacing provincial growth by 0.3. Fast movers. Then we come down to the job section. It's going to break it out by 2-digit NAICS and again, give you that same sort of view. Same thing with wages. It'll break it out by NAICS. Completions is interesting. It won't show any data. And I just want to make this clear. If there's not an institution in your area that's producing graduates that map to one of these program codes, it will not show any data. Additionally, if the university or college in your area reports their completions through a different campus, some people have a main campus and satellites, and the completions will actually get reported through the home school. So keep that in mind. If the completions information looks a little funny, you can always reach out and we'll confirm it for you. And then imports and exports for those of us in the economic development space is pretty cool to start that gap analysis and to see where we can kind of shore up some of the industries that are already here or possibly attract those to help support further. And the imports data is awesome. It's going to show you how much is locally produced and consumed versus how much is imported. All right, scrolling down further, we can see the regional trends. This is one of the only places in the tool that you can compare different levels of geography with each other. The table is sticky, so if you've been looking at another region, it will stay in there if I go to a different report. To clear it, you just simply click the X. And we can see that it compares all those different levels, the census division to the province to the nation itself. It looks like Wellington's actually outpacing in terms of job creation or job change. Coming down further, this also could be of interest. Say you were looking to see how many farms or how many businesses in a particular region are small and they have 1 to 4 employees. You could simply check this out here. These are tabulations straight from Canadian business patterns, so they should match exactly as. Indeterminate is also going to be the same thing as without employees. Indeterminate used to be the old column heading, and we've not quite adopted it yet. And then coming down further, this is actually unique to OMAFRA and their instance of analysts. So this is a really cool feature, the labor flows. So you can actually see how many people live in the region versus how many people work in the region, and then see that net commuting. Really, really interesting. Again, it's based off that 2-digit NAICS. And then coming down further, we can see growing and declining occupations and industries based on job count. This is talking about pre-pandemic out until 2022. So some of this is not necessarily a surprise, I wouldn't imagine, where some of it could be once you actually dig deeper into that data. And then finally, on the economy overview, we do have demographic information as well. In the Canadian tool, it's age and gender cohorts currently for demographic information. So unfortunately, right now, we don't have anything related to racial categories or tagging that to occupations. Something I'm working on, but as of now, it's going to break it out by age cohort on this particular page, show you that percent, and again, the histogram and all. So just to summarize, the economy overview is really, really good to get the high level view of your local economy, looking at trends, population, wages, education attainment, labor flows, all sorts of things. So this one's really, really handy. The next place I'm going to take you is actually a spinoff of this one, and that's going to be the regional comparison by industry. This is one of the new ones that I actually just came across. Really, really cool. You can look at industries along with regions together, which is awesome. Again, it's not very common that you can do this in the tool. It's going to show it out in the chart here by region and then break it out by industry down below that corresponds to that. You can look at the jobs, the percent of change. You can look at that chart by wages as well. Coming down further, it's actually going to show you the top occupations in the region as well, based on jobs and percent of change. And I'm going to delete Canada. That way we get some results for Wellington, hopefully. And then percent of change, we can see that there. So it looks like transport truck drivers over the last 4 or 5 years have shown an 8% increase, whereas in Ontario, they're actually declined by 3%, it shows. Motor vehicle assemblers, inspectors, and testers have declined all the way across both of those regions. On this particular employment concentration breakdown, it's not a good view, so I'm going to skip over it right now. I have a ticket in to maybe have this retooled a bit so it's more useful. On the next chart that we see, the top 10 industries and occupations, that one's going to illustrate how it functions a little better. So for now, I'm going to scroll down past that image and just show you the chart that corresponds to it. This is speaking about employment concentration, also known as location quotient. I'm not going to get too deep into what that is and what it's trying to tell you, but essentially it's just the concentration of the industry in your region. One would be compared to the nation. So this is saying manufacturing in Wellington is 2.7 times more concentrated than what we would expect based on a similar size in the nation there. We scroll down further, we can see the shift share breakdown. This goes hand in hand with the concentration. It's going to show if there's anything unique about your region in terms of its competitiveness. It takes a look at the national trends, the regional, industrial, and occupation mixes as well, and then it comes up with an expected change. And then it also shows the actual change, and the difference of that is the competitive effect. A positive number is going to show you that basically educational services here in Wellington overperformed by 2,677 jobs. We weren't not expecting that to happen. So essentially, there's something about Wellington that makes it unique for this particular industry. And actually, quite a lot of the industries overperformed. Only a few of them actually declined. We are looking during the pandemic, so we can see occupation and food services, for example, underperformed by 768 jobs. So super handy for that. I'm going to go ahead and back up to the economy overview. Now I'm going to scroll down further just to show you the business location or the industries by business location size report. It does give you the same data as that graph, just in table format. And it's going to break it out by NAICS codes all the way down to the 6-digit level if you'd like to. I'm going to keep it. 4-digit is everywhere else in the tool. This is the only place other than our job postings, I believe, that you can get 4 digits. So I always just like to leave it at 4 so it's consistent with the rest of the tool. And you can sort on any of these column headings. Again, if we're looking at farms in Wellington, there's 1 to 4 employees in 226 of those establishments. Unclassified simply just means we cannot classify it. They didn't give us a NAICS code or anything like that to categorize it. So it's just going to be unclassified. Now we also do have, if we sorted on the indeterminate, that's without employees. You can see, again, no surprise that real estate agents are kind of the number one draw there. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit from that. Again, it illustrates you can jump to a lot of things off of that economy overview, but I'm going to come down to the highest ranked industries and lowest ranked industries. We do also have in the occupation section of the tool, highest ranked and lowest ranked occupations as well. But I'm just going to stick with the industry thing for now. We'll come over to the highest ranked industries, and I'm going to use a different geography. Well, I'll stick with Wellington for this. Now you have a lot of different functions that you can do here as well. You can go to 4-digit and just parse it out by industry. You can keep it at 2-digit. You can go to the top 50 if you want. There's all sorts of things. I'll just keep it light here, 2-digit, top 10 in Wellington. I just want to do 2023 to 4 so you can see the year. Some of our reports do allow you to go out to 2031. That's 10 years from the most recent census that was taken. We have projections for those. You can find that typically on the tables if you're doing some projections or long-term analysis that way. For now, I'll just keep it on this year. And we can see already we have a lot of cool visualizations and data that we otherwise wouldn't necessarily be able to see on the same report. We do have largest industries based on job count. It's going to show you, obviously, no surprise, manufacturing has the most jobs. It's changed by 481 over the last year, as 2% increase, and it's going to have the wages by worker. Now, if we come down further, you can see the highest paying industries. So different than just the job count, this is going to show you who has the highest wages per worker. This is determined by the industry wages divided by the industry employment. So a really, really simple calculation to get this. So some of these industries that have really, really low employment and really, really high earnings, it may tend to trend really high, like information and cultural industries. It's not the biggest industry, but obviously we know in those particular, the information sector, it can be some pretty high earners. Excuse me. Utilities is always notoriously high paid because they don't require a lot of people to work in that, and it definitely earns some money. Now we come down further, we can see highest or fastest growing industries. This is again based on job count and how many it's put on over the time frame. All of these charts are going to correspond to the tables below. Most competitive industries, again, this is going back to that shift share analysis, just in a more visual format. We can see competitive effect wise, the manufacturing industry was the highest. It overperformed by 176 jobs over that time frame. Okay, so this is actually a good illustration of the employment concentration or location quotient chart. If you were able to see all of all the quadrants, I would be able to explain a little better. But over on this far top right quadrant, that's going to indicate highly concentrated industries that have shown growth in the concentration number over the time frame. The bottom right here is going to be those that are not as highly concentrated as the country, but have also shown growth. The bubble size corresponds to the size of the industry. So we can see this one's a really small industry. The real estate and rental leasing, it is not very concentrated at 0.81. However, it did show some growth over the time frame. Whereas manufacturing, it's very deeply rooted in this region here as well, but it didn't show a whole lot of growth as compared to the size and the concentration that's already there. Lots of cool information on this one. You can also go back to the lowest ranked industries. I don't know if you want to maybe see who needs help. You could go to this. I typically try to stay on the positive side of things, so I tend to not look at the lowest of things. But if that suits you, it does give the same information, just on the inverse. It's going to show you what's struggling the most, essentially. Okay. So now what we're going to do is take a look at a different geography, but we're going to shift gears and go to the reports that maybe are for those that are a little more analytical and have a little more proficiency in Excel or outside the tool to do some analysis. That's going to be on the industry table. We have occupations tables, program tables. Pretty much all the modules have a table in it, and they all work very similarly. The tables are going to allow you to select the parameters that you want to see, and it's also going to allow you to disaggregate whatever taxonomy it is you're looking at. So if you're looking at the industry table, it's going to allow you to break the NAICS apart. If you are looking at the occupation table, it's going to allow you to break those NOCs apart. It still aggregates the region. So if you put more than one in there, it's still going to add that together. Just keep that in mind. And for this one, I'm going to do the Hastings Census Division. You are able to limit by industry as well. So if you're going to browse in here and say you want to limit it by agriculture, we can do that. We can select all the 4-digit NAICS and pull those in. Or we can just simply leave all available and it'll show us all the data. We do have some cool little pre-selections that you can click on, defaults, or you can come in here to custom data selection and select your own. It's going to be very similar data to what we saw on those visualized reports, except on this one, it's going to break it out a whole lot further for you. So I'm going to do job change, percent of change, average wages, employment concentration, and competitive effect. Okay, and you're able to toggle between the different levels here. You can actually nest them if you would like to. I just like to look at the most granular, so we'll keep it at 4-digit. You are able to sort on all these column headings as well, so to rank. You can also add custom filters. So if there's a lot of industries that have 0 jobs, for example, we can do 2024 jobs greater than or equal to 1. And it'll take away all those industries that don't have anything. And then let's sort on competitive effect here. We can see that local, municipal, and regional public administration had a 2% increase over our time frame. It's a little more concentrated as compared to the country, and the competitive effect had overperformed by 50 jobs. Let's do the inverse of it. And we can see defense services underperformed by 66 jobs. It is very, very, very deeply rooted in this particular region. I'm assuming there's some sort of base there in Hastings. And then, scrolling down, you can kind of see a little further here. But the next thing that I want to illustrate for you is our input-output scenario. That's really cool to measure the impact if there was a change to the industry in the region. So for example, if we're taking a look at defense services and it underperformed by 66 jobs, the question might be, well, what would have happened to the economy if it had just met the expectation? Well, what would that impact look like? Well, it's really easy to figure out here in the tool because we have the input-output model. I'm going to take a couple industries just to illustrate sort of the difference in how that particular part of the tool works. So let's see. I'm going to do home healthcare. I know that that's a big one too. 6216. All right. So if we wanted to just select those here, excuse me, home health services and defense services, we can click the jump to button and select any of these other reports that we wanted to. The industry supply chain is going to show you just that, the supply chain for those particular industries. The industry overview, no surprise there. That's going to be that high level view where you cannot change the metrics and it's a print ready document. Or the input output scenario, which is where I'm going to take you now. Once you click on it, it's located in the input output section of the tool. You can access all of these from the sidebar, just like you did before. I don't know which one it was. Right here, you can get to them on the sidebar just by clicking input output and clicking on the tab. I like the jump tos because the feature for that is it actually takes your parameters that you have selected already and transfers them across. So it saves me a whole lot of time. Now, if we're looking at defense services, they underperformed by 66 jobs and the home healthcare underperformed by 22. So the question is, what would it look like if it would have just met the expectation? I'm going to use the model type Lightcast. We do have 3 models. Type 1 is good to measure bigger geography, so the nation and the province. It takes into account those industry-to-industry transactions, but does not include any of the induced effects or the the further ripple effect of that change. It's just going to have the direct and indirect. Type 2 is going to include household spending along with that industry to industry transactions. So it's going to be good for smaller regions like the CMAs and census divisions. And then type Lightcast is my favorite because it takes into account all of type 1 and type 2, plus it also factors in long-term government spending. So it includes those induced effects. Or when people go back out into the economy and spend their paychecks, what types of jobs does that create? Now, we do have the make use tables from StatsCan out to 2021. So that is, again, why this date shows that. It is still pulling current data, but using the model year 2021. Now, in running this, it's going to show you a couple different things. It'll break the industries out individually down here on the bottom and aggregate the changes up top. It's a little basic if you're just looking at it this way, but you can click the plus signs and get more information about what you're looking at. So in this one, the multiplier is pretty low and it doesn't necessarily add a ton of jobs. So this example might not be the best for showing, hey, this is a really good investment in your area, but it does illustrate how the model works. The initial input that we put was 88 jobs total. The direct effect of that, or the initial supply chain effect, would be 3 jobs created. There's really no indirect on that, and that would be, in awkward terms, the supply chain. So I think an example that I was given was if there was a tire shop that was selling tires, right? This would be the tire company who's making the tires for them. And then we come out to the induced effect, and this is when those people that work in the tire shop go ahead and take their kids out to lunch or take their spouse to the movies. That would be where this comes into play. And we can get way more detail by clicking Show Job Distribution. It'll actually pinpoint where those jobs are expected to fall. And if you want even more detail, you can go ahead and click the link, and it's going to pull you to a different report where you can toggle, you can filter, and things like that. You can sort on the column headings. One note on this, you'll see they're all zeros. Okay, our tables, sum and round. So this is a very good illustration on when you should export the data from the tool. If you export it, I might open it 6 times, yeah. If you export it, then you're going to see lots of less than ones, really close to zeros. And if you're doing the analysis that way, this is the best way to do it, in my opinion. This is also really, really crucial to know if you're analyzing smaller regions that have less than 10 results for any particular job, occupation, things like that. And you'll see what I'm talking about as you kind of dig through the tool. Some of the data, it might just not add up correctly. So my advice, please export it. That's the best way to do it. All righty. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about on these particular reports here are the regional jobs, wages, and sales. And again, it is exactly what it says it is. And this is what is actually the basis of our input-output model. It's going to show you, based on industry, in a particular region, how many jobs, what the wages were, the sales, and then the average wages. Lots of good information on that. Again, you can save, export, toggle, you can filter, whatever it is that you're looking for there. You have lots of different options. Okay, so I want to take just a few more minutes. I know we're getting really close to time here. I want to take a few more minutes and go through our real-time data. What we've all looked at so far has been the labor market information that we've obtained from the government, and some of it's modeled on our end and presented to you. Our job postings are going to represent that real-time labor market information. We actually have a process in-house here at Lightcast where we scrape, I believe, I've heard a bunch of different numbers, but over 50,000 websites every single day to collect job postings. And we have a process where we deduplicate those, we normalize all the titles, we classify the job descriptions and all these things to parse out a ton of information for you. I like to call it the Ferrari of reports, just because of how much information it can give and the amount of filters that you can apply to it. I'm going to look at this one in the Algoma district, just again to get good coverage of the province, so you can see. We'll do February 23 to February 24. So let's look at a time frame of a year. You do have the option to preset, and you can get information as close as yesterday. Super duper handy, but we're going to look at a year here. I'm not going to add any other filters right now, and then we'll go ahead and run this. Now, initially when this loads, we have the same features. You can filter on the side here. You can save and export. But I want to take a few minutes and explain this. Our posting intensity is a ratio that shows for every 2 jobs we observe online, 1 of them is an actual vacancy. That corresponds directly to this unique postings number, 5,571 out of 12,475 total postings. That means we scraped this many, but this many were actual jobs. This could be because the company's posted on more than 1 job board. This could also be that the company's posted the same job within sort of the same month, say, with the same language in it, and we've scraped it and noticed it. The process is very, very accurate in terms of benchmarking with the job vacancy and wage survey that Canada puts out. We correlate pretty closely with that. One note, the job postings analytics, it is slightly biased towards those white collar jobs, simply because like construction workers and farm hands and things like that generally don't advertise online. They're generally going to be hired by word of mouth or those help wanted ads sitting in a window somewhere. We do have as much coverage as is online, but that is just one note that I want to make. Now, we do have all the employers in the region competing for jobs. Since we've not added any other filters, we could, in theory, go ahead and put, let's see, retail sales supervisors, and it may reduce that further. Yeah, and we can see now there's only 19 of those 630 that are actually posting for retail sales supervisors. Now we scroll down, we do actually expose wages as well for you, hourly and annual. It is just a portion of those total postings. Reason for it is not every posting has an advertised wage. If there's not enough data to feel confident, it will just blank this package out and you won't be able to see it. That can be sometimes an issue with the smaller regions, but it just depends on how many salaries are actually posted for. We have advertised wage trends for the salaries as well down here. You have a number of different selections as far as time frames concerned. We do have our job postings by location, and this is where I'm going to pause and make note of our third report type. This is going to be the by location reports. Tables are going to disaggregate taxonomies. Overviews are going to just aggregate everything and show you what's there. The regional breakdowns or by location reports are going to allow you to disaggregate the region. All right, really key distinction there. It's going to allow you to break the region apart. So we can see that in Sault Ste. Marie, we have 3,910 postings over the last year. No surprise, it's, I think, the most populated area in that region. We do also expose sample postings for you. This is really, really crucial whenever you're looking for things like keywords. Say we want to see bilingual job postings. How many of those are there? A good way to ground truth your keywords or Boolean search is it will highlight it in the posting where it's actually tagged it. So if your results are coming through and they look a little funny, or you're just not getting the information you think you're looking for, double check the samples, because it very well could be something's just not tagging correctly. We have unique posting trends as well over certain time frames. You can see that the 30-day is going to compare this time this year to this time last year and show you that difference. So for example, okay, we have on March 24th, 2024, there's 7 postings in this region. On March 23rd of last year, there were 17. So this represents almost a 60% drop in postings year over year for that particular day. It's really specific, but one way to look at it. We do have education level, minimum experience as well. Again, we only scrape what is there. So if we show no education listed, it's represents 69% of those postings. We have 31 of which are asking for a PhD or professional degree. This one's really interesting as well, the company's hiring. So we'll scrape the company names as well and normalize them. So you can look in the region and see who's the highest poster. And you can see their intensities as well. So Argonaut Gold may be having a really tough time hiring for a certain position. It could be a really technical job, or it could be that it's just not that interesting to folks. So they're casting a huge wide net to try to capture that job. You can add these to the filter as well, or you can even come over to the side and just type the company name in the company box, and it'll show up. Top cities, again, it's going to show you where those postings were found. Our job postings data is native to cities, so sometimes it can get a little wonky if you're putting in CSD information. So if it's not tagging correctly, again, just reach out and we'll try to fix that. We have top posted occupations. Top posted titles, again, those are all normalized in-house. Occupations wise, we do have the lot taxonomy as well. That's the Lightcast occupation taxonomy. It is a lot more granular than the government taxonomy, and it does take into account the employer's like native language. So it's going to normalize those job titles the employers are posting. Industries as well, we'll scrape those. And then skills, we also scrape those. Specialized skills are going to indicate what makes that job, those hard skills. The common skills are going to be just something everybody should have, right? Everybody should be able to communicate. Software skills related directly to computer programs. If you are looking at more technical jobs like programmer, computer designer, whatever, software skills very well could also tag to specialized. I've gotten that question before as well. How come they're showing both? Is it tagging wrong? No, because the skills for that job are also software skills. Two more things here. We have the top qualifications. If it's asking for a driver's license, anything like that, it'll display it. And then top posting sources. We don't hide that from you either. We'll show you exactly where we got these jobs. We do scrape the Canadian Job Bank. We do scrape the provincial job banks, the career websites from the employers themselves, as long as they are not protected and hidden. If you notice there's a source not included in the list that you think should be, let us know and we'll get it added. All right, cool. I have run my course. I motored you guys to death here, so I'm going to go ahead and be quiet and turn this back over to Nick. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Basil. And that was awesome. That was a lot of stuff in a short period of time. And thank you for that. So as I put in the chat, like there's a lot of stuff. So I don't expect you to remember that or be able to recreate that, but it just hopefully gives you an overview of what's available in Analyst. And so if there is something that is of interest to you and you do get a license, if you want to come back to us and, hey, I saw this in the introduction, and so I'd like to explore that further, you can reach out to us and also to Analyst's support team. And so what I want to do now is just to make sure that you have the information on how to access Analyst. And so I'm going to share again my presentation here. And actually, I think I have maybe a question for you. I'm not sure if we have time for the poll question. Basil, I think we're a little short, but maybe we'll do that next time. But here in Slido, and so if you can just let us know what type of application could you see this data being used for in your organization, and just may give us some ideas, but it will also give everyone else participating as to what others might be thinking and might give you some ideas. So thank you. Workforce projection. Awesome. A few more people. Grant applications, excellent. Yes, we like to see data in our grant applications for sure. So investment attraction, yeah, we get a lot of people using it for that purpose. And so attracting investors. the economic situation for your region. So what's really cool is it can be within your region and not just a general Ontario look or greater region. So strategies, yes, awesome. Research projects and background and insights to economic development. One more person. Okay. And great. Thanks for that. Okay, I'm going to move to the next one. So who can get an account? You can request an analyst account if you work for an organization like the following. And so local, regional government, economic development office, a economic development corporation, workforce planning board, chamber of commerce, business improvement area organization. These are just examples. And so you can see that we're looking at organizations accessing it. Just a note that we don't give licenses to private consultants or entities that already have access to analysts. And so we encourage those who are not eligible to work collaboratively with an organization listed here or as an organization. So there are some ways that we can work together to benefit from this awesome tool. How to get an account? So on our website, Serena has already shared the link, but she'll share it again in the chat. You can fill out our online request form, and we'll send you a terms and conditions agreement. And you return the agreement to us, and then we'll send you the login credentials for the following month. The analyst tool is available for 30 days or the month. And then if for organizations that have longer projects and need more access, they can come back and ask to renew that if we have licenses available. So we certainly give preference to those people who are using it for the first time. All right, with that, I think now if I could just indulge you to fill out our survey, and as well, I believe that Serena, there's also a link to the survey, but if you want to take a moment, you can do it here. Now, is that showing up, Serena? Oh, that's the analyst quiz.
No, it's not showing up. It's just
okay. There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so there's 3 questions there. If you could indulge us and fill those in, we would really appreciate it. And sorry, questions. There were some questions, and it had to do with smaller communities, Basil, and Indigenous communities specifically. And if there was, I'm just searching it back here. Does the platform provide data on specific Indigenous communities and region-wise? So
it does, yeah. The coverage is not quite as comprehensive or robust as maybe say the Toronto area or Windsor, for example. But there is data there. Where it's available, we scrape it and we try to unsuppress and see just the same way we do with everything else. Yeah.
Perfect. And also, when you reference stats that are pulled from government, is that strictly StatsCan?
Yeah, so we use 4 main sources in the tool: the Canadian Occupation Projection System, the Labor Force Survey, the Census, and the Survey of Employment, Payroll, and Hours, all of which are StatsCan.
Okay.
So we're not really sourcing anything outside of the government there, other than our job postings typically is kind of the only thing that we do that. Yeah.
Right, and then like business patterns and all that.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that's good, because I was thinking that you pull from a number of different sources, but that is within StatsCan. And all those sources and such can be found in that knowledge base as well, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And let me just see here. Da-da-da-da. Okay, so if there's if anybody wants to either put it in the chat or join us, please let us know if you have any questions. Was there anything else, Serena? You?
No, that was really great. Thank you. And yeah, we answered some questions in the chat. If anyone has any questions, as you're thinking about it, maybe during your lunch break, please feel welcome to send us an email, and well, we can always help answer. And if not, then we'll connect with Basil as well. I do see that there's an email from Kathy in the chat saying, is there a cost for access? So no, so long as you are a nonprofit organization, a municipality or a county, you can go ahead and access the tool. I've added the link in the form. The province does pay for this license. So yeah, I would share the license itself is only valid for 30 days at a time, and 30 days, I mean like a calendar month. So if you are interested, now would be a great time so you can get access for the beginning of April. And you can always reach out and I can add you on to the next month if you don't remember in time. So that's just a reminder.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Serena. That was awesome. And yeah, so we hope that you folks received some information. I even learned a few tricks and tips there. Thanks to Basil, and we really appreciate that. And we look forward to working with you. Have a great day.